Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is a beautiful day today. It's 34 degrees in the plant room today with 49% humidity. So it's a tropical paradise. Today we're going to be checking up on some old projects. It's been 1 month now since I planted a little desert rose tree in my Martian simulant soil. So let's go in and have a look at it. Here's the planting down here. I have the greenhouse cover off because it's so warm and humid in here, and I want to get as much sunlight as possible to the little desert rose. The desert rose is alive and doing well. I was very worried at first when I planted it. My moss died. It went a brown color right away. The one in the corners almost disappeared. And all the lower leaves on the desert rose started falling off. They started going kind of a brown color, getting crispy, and they got a bit of mold growing on them, and then they fell off. So you can see them kind of down at the base there, the remains of the old leaves. But then it started to kind of stabilize, and it's got new growth on top now. It's got a new little leaf poking out the top. So I think those lower leaves dying were just the shock from transplanting it into this Martian soil. And it seems to be growing really well now. So I have, I have higher expectations now. I think it's going to do all right. And I don't know about the moss, if that'll green up again, or if it's just, the soil's too poisonous or has the wrong balance to grow moss. I'm not sure. So it's something I'll find out in future if any natural moss grows. Because it is humid in here, and with the greenhouse cover on, I may get natural moss growing on the rocks and that. So we'll see if it grows on top of the Martian soil. Maybe at the end of summer we'll know better. I went out and bought another pomelo fruit. I've always wanted to grow one as a bonsai, but the first one I bought had no seeds inside. So I'm going to try this as a second one. So I'll open it up now and we'll see if it has any seeds. So here I go. I'll cut the netting off at first. And then it's covered in plastic, so we'll get that off second. It smells really good. It's I've had it in the plant room for about a week now, and it just makes the whole room smell really nice. Okay, so there's the fruit. It's one of the larger citrus fruits. I think it's the largest citrus fruit. So let's open it up and we'll see if we can find any seeds inside. Oh, it smells even better. It smells like a really sweet grapefruit. Okay, so now I'll try splitting it in half. Like that. Oh, and I see some seeds in here. That's good. There's rows of seeds in here, but they're very small. I have to find a seed that's fairly mature. That's, plump. It looks sort of like a lemon seed or something. Because I don't know if these would grow. You can see them along the spine here. Yeah, I don't think they're large enough to grow fruit from. I may get lucky and find, a larger seed, but maybe not. If not, we'll try again. We'll just keep buying pomelos until I find one with nice seeds inside. Let's give the fruit a try. Good fruit. I checked on the internet, and yeah, these seeds are too small. They're not mature. I think these fruits are probably picked green and then they ripen up in the stores. So you need to, pick a fruit that's ripe right off the tree to get the good, large, plump seeds. So I'll just keep trying. I'll keep buying pomelos, and maybe one day I'll get lucky and get some nice seeds. So that's the progress on my project pomelo. It's not going so well, but I'll keep trying, and someday we'll grow a pomelo tree. The next project I'll be getting out is my rainforest planting with my kapok trees. I had to move the camera quite far back to get the entire rainforest in the frame. Just like in nature, these kapok trees grow like crazy. Today I'll do some cleanup and some pruning to the trees to get them back down to size. Here's a look at the palm trees in the forest, and they're getting quite tall. When I first got them, they're, fairly small, down to about here, but they've kind of doubled in height. And I've seen them in the plant section, and they can grow into like a quite a tall palm. So I found over here, there's a little miniature one that just sprouted from the roots. So I'm wondering, can you hack these back and then have them resprout? So can you kind of bonsai them? I'm just wondering if you can. I don't know. So I'll try it on some. I've got lots of them in the forest planting. I'll try just kind of cutting them down in height, and there'll probably be new sprouts will sprout up. And I'll see if I can decrease the vigor in them that way. Kind of, keep trimming them and see if I can get them a little more miniature. So that'll be kind of cool. The actual trees in the forest are getting large. You can see my finger compared to the size of the trunk, and the trunk's now bigger than my finger. It's pretty close to my middle finger in size, in width. So that's good. It's growing really well. It's starting to get kind of a brownish gray bark on it too. So that's nice too. It'll get a nice mature look to the trunks. But they are quite tall, so they will need pruning also. I've had a lot of scale insects on my kapok trees. I've been picking all the blisters off by hand, spraying them with soap and water. And the leaves don't really like the soap and water very much. Some of them do go a bit yellow. But it's better for the tree. I noticed that you give it the soap and water treatment, some of those leaves start going a bit brown, and then it starts sprouting new growth, which looks really healthy and vigorous. So yeah, it's a constant battle with these kapok trees to keep the scale insects under control. They really like them. So I just, whenever I see a blister, I just pick it off in my hand and spray the leaf with soap and water and just keep at it. And I think I have most of the scale insects off them now, and now they're starting to grow with lots of vigor again. So it's just something you have to keep up with on the kapok trees, is that they tend to get scale insects on them. Some of my undergrowth plants have died off. Like, I think I had a coffee plant in there, and I think this was just a cutting I tried of one, it died. The rest look like they're doing okay, so that's good. There is 2 kapok trees at the back that died. I'll show you those. In the back corner here, I've got 2 kapok trees that died. And I think it's because it was really hard to get into that back corner. It's really crowded in my plant room, too crowded. And it was hard to get in here to water, so I think this area of the planting probably dried out and killed these 2 small trees. So I'll take them out of the soil. We'll have a look at the roots and see what they look like. Yeah, that soil's a bit dry under there. So there's the roots. They had the start of a good root base, nice radial root base. But they just dried out and died. So we'll have to replace those with some cuttings later on. And I'll take out my dead coffee tree cutting. And all these dead leaves I'll pull out so I can see in here a little better. Maybe that was another problem, is that the forest was getting really congested at the front. So it was hard to see in here and see what's going on with the watering. They also don't get a lot of light back here, so all these plants at the back here look a little sickly. So I may have to rotate the planting around and give those plants a little more light every now and then. It's quite a heavy pot, this, so it's not easy to lift and turn. So that's kind of maybe the cause of some of these plants' demise. All right, well, we'll give that a good watering for starters. The surface is wet or damp, but it's definitely dry and down below, so I'll give that a more thorough watering now. Okay, so here I go with the water. When I get the new greenhouse up, I'm going to put this rotary table inside the greenhouse, and I'll be able to have a little more room and be able to rotate the trees better. Won't be as crowded as this plant room, which will be really nice. Yeah, I just don't think I was getting this back corner very well with the watering. Too bad. But we'll try harder next time with it, keeping everything alive and in good health. Once it goes outside in the summer, it'll be no problem, but it's just indoors here. Things get a little harder. Next, I'm going to prune back this arrowhead plant. There's some long leaves here that I'll take back. And I think I've got to prune the height of it down, so I'll prune it back to stumps so we can see the trees better. All the moss in this planting died off, and I think it was just too dark to grow moss underneath this forest. It's just too dense up top. So there's the top of the arrowhead there. Looks nice and healthy. It's doing quite well. I'll rotate the planting around. I'll work on the other side here. Just cleaning up the forest floor a bit. So I can see that these ferns are really blocking the light getting to the trees behind. And that's a bit of a problem. It stops me seeing the trees. It's just like a creating a wall in front of the forest that's just, yeah, all you can see is these ferns up front. So I've got to do either two things: remove them and put them in the back or something, or cut them down in height. So I think what I'll do today is I'll try cutting them down in height and see if they regenerate smaller. And then if that doesn't work, then I'll move them to the back of the planting. I'll come in here with this front one and just prune it off shorter like this. So here I go. Hopefully they'll grow again. If not, they weren't very expensive. They were only like $1.99 for a giant clump of them. So you can see in the forest much better now. It's a lot easier to see the interior of the forest. So now I can see and hear a lot easier. Here's another arrowhead leaf I have to remove, and another trunk I can shorten here, like that. This is my coffee trees over here that didn't survive. And maybe that's a different plant, this one. This seems to have a waxy leaf, and the coffee trees didn't. So I think that's a different kind of tree. So I'm going to prune all these understory plants down in height, just chopping them off. I want to be able to see my Kapok trees. And I'm going to remove the tops of these coffee plants. It is possible that the root system's still alive, I don't know, so we'll just take the tops off and maybe something will grow in here again, I don't know. That's looking better. Then I have one of these polka dot plants back here, but I also prune those back in height, keeping all the understory stuff nice and short. I can see on these little polka dot plants that I pruned it here last time and it grew a new branch up, so they seem to be able to take pruning quite well. I kind of knew when I planted this rainforest that it would take a while to get used to taking care of, the understory plants and everything. And yeah, I'm learning as I go. So I've learned a lot about these ferns out front. They were blocking the trees behind of light, and I wasn't able to see what was going on very well. And I had it crowded in a corner, so I lost 2 trees at the back, so yeah, I'm learning how to take care of my rainforest. I've noticed that some of the trees on the left-hand side are kind of angled and they're reaching for light. I think the canopies up top here were blocking light getting to this side of the tree, so they've kind of grown a little crooked. So I'll have to straighten those out and prune the canopies so each tree gets light from above. The trees are getting tall again, and a lot of my initial cuts on the trees, you know, pruning the initial trunk back to here, a new side branch has grown and thickened up, then I prune them again a little higher, and I'm not getting a lot of taper in the trees. They kind of just, I prune it, a new leader grows, it thickens up to the same size as the trunk, prune it again, a new leader grows and it thickens up to the same size as the trunk again. So I end up with a tree that's quite tall, the same thickness, almost, you know, up to the height I want the canopy. And all my pruning has done is kind of put kinks in the tree. So eventually, you know, I'll hard prune them back again and get new branches growing. And I'm going for a change of thickness. So I have the main trunk thickness, then the branches are a little smaller in diameter, and so on, to get a finer and finer canopy as I go up the tree. So I think what I'm going to have to do is do some hard pruning, maybe even back, you know, just below my initial cut here, to get the trees back down in height. There is some buds coming off a lot of these trees down low, so I think that's what I'll have to do, is do some more hard pruning on them. I'll get my bypass pruners and I'll prune them down in height. So I'm going to prune the biggest tree to this height, and I'll try for that sort of asymmetrical rounded canopy to the trees, so they'll all have to get pruned down. So here I go. Here's my thickest tree. I'm going to prune it right here. All right, here I go. Big cut. There we go. Oh, all tangled up in there. So there's what I cut off. You can see it's 1, 2, 3. It's had 3. It's been pruned 3 times. So there's a change of direction, change of taper 3 times in that piece I cut off. So I'm back down to my main trunk with 1 cut here, and it's growing up again. All right, let's do my next tree. I'm going to go, here's the height of that one, so I'm going to go a little shorter, so to here, like that. The tree beside it will also be a little shorter, so I'll go right here. Next to that, I'll prune down to here and here. These side ones, we'll prune them back here, here, and here. And a few smaller branches to here and there. There's a little tree here. I'll prune back to there. There's a taller one here. I think I'm going to go, I want that fairly low at the edges here, so I'll go right back to here. Here. This one, I want them a little smaller towards the back of the planting, so I'm going to cut it right back to here. And this one back to here. And to here. And there's a tall one back here that I'll get quite short. I think I'll have to take some of these palm trees back in height too. You can see they're starting to grow, interfering with the canopies on the Kapok trees. I think that's pretty well got my canopy pruned up. I'll come around the back now and prune back these palms to make them shorter. So we'll see what happens with those. I may have to find better plants to grow underneath the forest to keep it all in scale. So here I am. I've got my rainforest back to just sticks. I've got it all pruned to size again. But I know that it'll sprout all new branches and I'll develop a canopy. I'm definitely going to keep all my ground cover to size. I'm not going to let it grow up again. I think that was just blocking my view of the trees and not allowing me to get in there to water. So I may even, remove this in future and plant just moss underneath it or something like that. It's just, I think they were also shading out the soil, killing all my moss. So yeah, it's a learning experience planting a rainforest, and learning I am. I've always said that growing bonsai, you shouldn't be focused on achieving a beautiful looking tree. You should enjoy the process of creating a beautiful looking tree. The journey, you're training yourself, you're learning new species of trees, how to take care of them, how to water, how to fertilize, how to make soil, how to prune them artistically. So it's a giant learning process, and it's really fun. You have to enjoy that process. Getting a beautiful looking tree in the end is just icing on the cake. It's something that comes with experience. I hope to get that someday. So that kind of reminded me, Julie and I just recently took a trip to the Toronto Auto Show, and we had just as much fun on the trip getting to the show as we did being at the auto show. So the journey was just as fun as the destination. We had to learn what trains to take and what platform they left, what time they left, and how to get to the auto show, and it was just a lot of fun. So I'll show you a clip of the auto show now.
Nice.
No idea.
These are double-decker cars, so we moved up to the upper level so you get a little better view.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we are now arriving into Toronto's Union Station 26. Seats S North Post located approximately in the middle of the train.
Here we are coming up to Union Station. Wow, look at that. It's getting very dark out now, so this project is done. It can go back on the bench where it'll just start to grow again. And we'll get out another project coming up in part 2 of this series. So I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me today in the Bonsai Zone.